Welcome to AFL Uncensored. I'm your host, Teej Johannesson, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Omari Fraser. We are doing a solo episode today, no guests. We've got some breaking news we want to talk about in the league, team folding, a new schedule. We want to go over the week one previews, the two games that are happening week one. We're going to talk about a little bit of our YouTube channel, and then we got a little bit of bonus trash talk that we're going to talk about as well. But first of all, I want to say that, after last week, I'd mentioned that, in order to keep this podcast going, we were going to need some help to finance it because it is rather expensive, about $100 a month to produce, weekly episodes, which is what we want to get to during the season, especially. And thankfully, a couple people stepped up. So first off, big thanks to Travis Levitsky, who covered the May portion of the costs for the podcast. Travis is a longtime member in the AFL and really wants what's best for the league. And he can get under a lot of people's skin. But I think if he's your teammate, you love him. If he's not your teammate, you hate him. And that's exactly the kind of guy you want on your team at all times. So thank you, Travis, for helping out. And then our first official podcast sponsor, who is going to be an official podcast sponsor for our podcast moving forward, is Danny Warwick and his company, Warwick Grain Carriers. Danny is a longtime member in the AFL. I played with him last year with the Wolfpack. And so I really want to thank Travis and Danny for really stepping up. So that is Warwick Grain Carriers, WARRACK Grain Carriers, is the official first sponsor of our podcast. Of course, we are always looking for more to help us grow, to help us put out more content, to help us put out better content. We really want to make this a thing where we capture the football world and move into not just AFL, but in the fall, we'd love to move into high school football, and we want to talk about the NFC and the Ontario League. So we really have a lot of dreams and goals with this podcast. So thank you to Danny, thank you to Travis for allowing this podcast to continue going. Omari, how you doing? And anything in a pre-show?
I'm feeling pretty good. Quick question I got here for you, Teej. I know we're recording this here just after May Long, and I had this conversation over the weekend, and I wanted to ask this and maybe put this thoughts into our viewers, our listeners. But are you now, when you go on a trip for May Long, you go to your trip, Kelowna, Christina Lake, wherever you go, and you come back home, are you the kind of person now where you take your suitcase or your bag and you leave it unpacked for 2-3 days plus, or are you the person who comes home and unpacks right away?
So, it's really funny. I actually was just in Kelowna this May Long, Saturday and Sunday, playing in a touch football tournament, one of the biggest touch football tournaments in Canada, called the May Bowl in Kelowna. It happens every year. There's teams from all over Canada. Really great time. Shout out to the Edmonton Whalers team for inviting me along and being a part of that. Really cool experience. Kelowna is beautiful. The golf courses are amazing. When I get back, it's like if you have a really long, sweaty day and you just cannot wait to shower and clean yourself off. That's how I feel about my packing. So when I get home, I can't wait. I'm on the 7.5 hour drive from Kelowna to Sylvan Lake, and I'm can't wait to get out, unpack, reorganize, wash all my clothes, everything come out fresh. And it's just kind of feeling of a new beginning for me. And that's how I am with all my road trips. I do not leave it in my bag. I am actually excited to wash them. And I don't know. It's like when Monday falls on the first of the month, you just kind of feel like this is a chance to reset and refresh. So yeah, that's how what about you? What's your process?
I'm on the same boat with you. It was funny because I'm on the same thing where getting home, unpack and everything, and unpack. I already got the laundry. I know we're doing this. I'm doing this coming off the road here, but I already unpacked. Laundry's in the wash, all ready to go for tomorrow. That way, then got my gym outfits, this, that, all ready to go. And it was funny because my girlfriend's the complete opposite. And I'm sure we all have those partners in our life who are either one or the other, but it was an interesting dynamic that I wanted to bring up and give everyone a quick laugh about that.
Yeah, that is, it's a cool question. I've never actually answered that question or thought about it. Just always is what it is. But I'm I'm interested to think about what other people might do or how they view it. I'm sure there's people out there that are like half and half. It's like, well, they'll take out like the really smelly and sweaty stuff, but they'll leave some of their stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, there could be a little bit mixed, but yeah, that's interesting. Where were you at? You were traveling to
Yeah,
BC too?
it's I was in BC. Me and my girlfriend went to BC. Her family has a some lakeside property on Christina Lake, so it was nice to go out.
Wow, jackpot.
Yeah, nice to go out, visit a little bit. The boats weren't in the water, so that was one thing where I guess the river is actually like the lake and the river. I guess in lower mainland BC is just flowing right now, so couldn't get the boats in the water, but
Yeah.
still like 30-degree weather. Nice to be out
Yeah.
around.
It wasn't smoky. Was it smoky where you were?
No, all clear. All
Yeah, it
clear.
wasn't smoky in Kelowna. Kelowna was beautiful.
Mm,
Like I was driving back to Alberta and I was like driving into the abyss because it was just like BC was just clear, beautiful. It rained a little bit, but the rain there was just gorgeous.
yeah.
And like I went golfing at this beautiful golf course. It was, and the drive from I stayed in Vernon, and the drive from Vernon's about half an hour away from Kelowna, but Vernon was a lot cheaper. But the drive from Vernon to Kelowna is just incredible.
Mhm.
Like
That lake
the
next to it.
beauty of it is just insane. Yeah, you're driving through these mountains and Okanagan Lake, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah.
So, but I'm glad to be home. I looked at it as a refresh because now it's like I'm home, and now we're gearing up. We're
Absolutely.
less than 2 weeks away from week one, and
Absolutely.
ready to go.
And
So, yeah,
and
go
with
ahead.
that too, I think we're both about to jump into, but there's been some breaking news in the AFL.
Yeah. So I think, what's funny is I believe I mentioned it. No, this is funny. I don't actually listen to our podcasts after I edit them because I spend a lot of time listening to it while I edit it, and I kind of get the gist of everything. And so I can't really remember if I said this, but I'm pretty sure I talked about Fort Mac folding in our last podcast, and I talked about I was scared because they come to Red Deer in the last game of the season, and I figured they probably weren't going to be very good, so they're probably going to be eliminated from the playoffs already. And I was like, oh, they're probably going to show up with 12 guys or just fold that game, which would really suck. And then, a week later, I started hearing some rumors, and the wonderful thing about doing this podcast is everybody wants to tell me everything. And get the info to me, which is awesome, by the way. I appreciate that. If you ever have breaking news, send it my way so we can get it to the people. But I started hearing the rumors that Fort Mac was going to fold, and then I reached around to some people I knew in the Fort Mac organization. I confirmed it was true. I made a post on our AFL forum about it, but then I got asked to remove it because they hadn't, I guess, told their sponsors and stuff like that. So I did that, but it's not surprising, but it for me, it's incredibly disappointing because Fort Mac's been around since 2014, and I personally believe the best AFL championship game to ever be played was the 2016 final between the Fort Mac Monarchs and the Central Alberta Buccaneers. That game was absolutely insane. The regular season game of that year was absolutely insane. That team has won multiple national championships, multiple AFL championships, and has been around for 9 years, which was the third longest team outside the Pack and the Bucks. And so to see them fold, especially in a town like that, which loves their football and supported the team. This is a team that was featured on a TSN documentary in 2016 about, the Fort Mac fires and all the stuff they had to persevere through. And I think it's really sad for the AFL. I think it's really sad for Fort McMurray. This is it. Like teams, it's very rare that teams are going to come back after folding. I know Grand Prairie has done it now, but it was a few years off, and they are completely basically rebranding Grand Prairie. And I don't know if you can do that in Fort Mac. So I think that's probably the end of Fort Mac. It's sad. It's disappointing. And it's, I don't know. It's just, it kind of hits a little bit hard because of how much they meant to the league for so long. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it was tough to hear because I granted it was one. I always look at Fort Mac as one of those games where we get to go on a bus, 7-hour drive. Like it was one of those trips that it checked off a lot of boxes where you got to play football, which we're also blessed to do, but as well packing on a bus, driving to Fort Mac. You're with the boys, you're with your teammates, you're building memories, that camaraderie. And it checked off on the box there where it just served a lot. And to have that now game be taken away just for, opponents and everyone and us players, like it's tough to see. But I also think of like all the guys in Fort Mac who, showed up. Like I heard again, like through the grapevine AFL, like they had their spring camp. I think 4 or 5 guys showed up, and I'm just like, man, like you got to put your hearts out to those 4 or 5 guys who came up ready to go, ready to pay their fees and wanted to play. And it's just tough the way our game. You need at minimum like 12, and even then, like to show a team like 18, 20-ish.
Yeah.
So that's tough to answer for the community too, because they have a great facility in Fort Mac, like by far one of the best, facilities where they can train, they can do everything there. And I was actually going to ask, like, this is now one thing I'm wondering, like, is this now going to be a fold for a year or fold forever?
Yeah, no, I think it's going to be a fold forever. I don't think the way the league works, the league is not going to look very, very fondly on Fort Mac. The fact that they, and look, the people up in Fort Mac, Will's the president there. These are good people. This is not their fault. This is, well, I guess it kind of is their fault in a way. Like you've got to be able to recruit. Like how much effort did they put into recruiting? I don't know. I think if they look back on this, they can realize like we should have done more. Clearly enough wasn't done. So maybe it is a little bit their fault. I don't know. I'm changing my own mind as I talk about this, but like it's frustrating for the league. And as you know, I was the president for a little bit after I was vice president, then kind of forced in the president's role for a little bit from vice president. And the league doesn't look too kindly on teams that fold 2 weeks before the season, because it throws a wrench in everybody's plans. You got to redo the schedule, which we'll talk about. They did redo it, but it's not a good look. They're now the Fort Mac team is now obviously in bad standing. They're going to have to come with a proposal basically that proves to the league that they're going to be able to stay in the league for like 5 to 10 years. They're going to have to show player lists and commitments and pay a bunch of money and fines. It's pretty much done. Yeah, if they won't be able, it definitely is not a year. And I would at minimum maybe 5 years before the league would even look at a proposal from them again. But this is going to go the kind of the route of the Lloydminster Vandals. It's just at least Lloydminster folded much gave the league a lot of notice. It wasn't 2 weeks before the season. So yeah, that's unfortunate. It looks like it is going to be the end of Fort Mac. And while we're on this topic, I posted on the forum today. For those that are listening to the podcast and don't know, there's a Facebook forum called the Official Alberta Football League Message Board. It's a board that I run. I've run it for a few years. We talk all things AFL, and including this podcast. And you can join that. You got a request to join, and I can accept you. But that's the Official Alberta Football League Message Board. I posted on there talking about the podcast we're going to do tonight, and some of the comments were from salty members of the Calgary Kings. Now, for those that don't know, the Calgary Kings were a team that tried to join the league this year. They got rejected by the league. Personally, I don't think you should have 3 teams in one area anyways, but one of the comments on that post, and I found this kind of funny. Mike Cush, he said, Fort Mac should have asked the Jets about recruiting. Now, here's the funny thing about that is it's just kind of funny in general. But the actual even funnier thing is that Fort Mac set the standard when it came to recruiting. Like these guys were paying players to come play for them from almost the beginning of time. And like, I don't care. Like people care about the paying players. Like for me, it is what it is. I loved playing against that high talent, but like Fort Mac was doing this well before Cold Lake was doing this. So, and now I'm not saying Cold Lake is paying players now. They got busted for that, I think, in 2019, but I don't believe they're doing it now. I would like to say Cold Lake. It would be nice to see you recruiting somebody that was like from Alberta. It seems like all these recruits are like from Florida and like far, which is fine. Like, bring them here, but like, the Canadian Football League has a ratio of Canadians. I've always kind of been in favor of like having kind of a system where you're allowed to like help players out financially, not necessarily pay them, but help them get out here, help them get jobs, help them get home, stuff like that. But have kind of a ratio where your offense had to have 6 Albertans starting on it, or your defense had to have 6 similar to what the CFL does, because at its core, we do want to keep intact the Alberta part of the Alberta Football League.
I was teasing Teague from Cold Lake. I was saying there's like a week where like the QB, another guy, 6'5", 210, 6'5", 220. I'm like, yo, these guys are all basketball.
Dude, they're fucking their punter. Okay, they released this thing on Facebook. I think it was like 2 weeks ago, and all I saw was 6'5", 280, and I'm like, oh wow, they got another D lineman. Nope, punter. I said, I almost want to call him like, why the fuck do I care that your punter is 6'5", 280? You got a fat punter, bro. You have a fat ass punter who can't move. He ain't faking shit. Why do I need to know that he's 6'5",
He's got
285?
a boomstick. That's that one kid from the Raiders.
I don't care. Since when are we announcing punters? Can we? And I'm a punter. I punt. But when do we announce punters at 6'5", 285? I don't give a fuck. I thought this guy was a D lineman. He's a punter.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's also from Florida, I think. I don't even know. No, Manitoba. This guy.
I think it's Manitoba. Yeah, Manitoba. But still, 6'5", average height. Here's what I want to see. End of the. I want to see when all the roster comes out, the average height for the team. Like,
oh, they're massive. Like, this team is basically like a farm team for the CFL. Like, the Jets are championship or bust. Like, if the Jets don't, basically, here's my thought on the Jets. If they don't win the AFL championship by 50, it's a failure. If they don't win the national championship by 30, it's a failure. This team, look at all these guys that they're signing, is basically a CFL farm team.
I agree.
Like, it's, and again, I think this should be, I think all teams should strive to bring in this kind of talent. This is not a knock on the Jets. This is just reality. I'm just speaking facts about all these dudes that we're seeing coming. Bring them here. This is what we want the Alberta Football League to play. I want players to come here, to play here, to get film here, to advance their careers. And the Jets are doing that better than anyone else. So this is, if you're listening, Jets, we're not shitting on you. This is a compliment to you. I don't think you should have announced 6'5", 285 punter. Nobody gives a fuck. Other than that, good for you for recruiting these guys. It's what we need as a league. We want more exposure to the league. And hey, these guys, we're going to talk about our YouTube channel here in a bit, Omari. But these guys are going to be having people from the States watch our league.
Absolutely.
That's pretty cool. Like, their families from the States. That's pretty cool. So good on Cold Lake. Your expectations are extremely high. And if you don't win the AFL championship by 50, you basically should quit and never come back again.
Oh, man. And I guess to tie it back to the schedule, there's been a change now to where I know there was some talk of having the new schedule be where either, like, I know Wolfpack would play the Elite and everything, but it works out to where, like, there's now for me and the Wolfpack here, we get a bye the very first week. Us in Edmonton, we get a bye the first week, which, I mean, all the excitement was June 3rd, but now it's June 10th, and we'll take our pack up to the Cold Lake here, but it different excitement. But I guess just looking at it now, all right, I think you summarized it. Edmonton plays Bucks twice, Irish and Jets twice, Pack and Cowboys twice, which I feel like that's a very good way to have it all mediated. It's figured out. It's the best thing we could do, and we all make playoffs this year, correct?
Yeah, so all 6 teams will make playoffs. Top 2 will get byes to the semifinals. 3 will play 6 in the quarters. 4 will play 5 in the quarters. And then lowest remaining seed goes to play 1, and the next seed goes to play 2. So the quarterfinals are July 29th weekend. Then there's a bye because of the August long weekend, and semifinals, I think, are like August 12th, and the finals are August 19th. So yeah, that's what it is. They had to revamp the schedule. There was a couple options. They could have just every week that you were supposed to play Fort Mac could have just become a bye week, and each team would have 5 games. They decided to keep the 6 games and have, each team play one other team twice. And I think the league got this one right as far as who plays who twice. I think that basically you're taking the number 1 and 2 teams from last year, Cold Lake and Irish, and putting them together twice. I think that's the smart thing to do. And then you get Edmonton and Red Deer, which, stats or like predictive wise are probably going to be pretty close. And then you've got kind of 2 up and coming teams in the Pack and Grand Prairie playing each other twice. So I actually think that the league got that one right. If you're going to go, I was originally kind of like, just keep it a 5-game schedule, get the bye, whatever. It's complicated. It can be kind of unbalanced playing teams twice. But if you're going to go this route, I think that they went the right route. It does suck for you guys though, like to be like, oh, we're playing June 3rd, and now all of a sudden you have to wait an extra week is kind of lame, and takes kind of some of the juice out of it. And for me, on a personal level, originally we had a bye June 10th, and so I was going to play in this Alberta Golf Tour event at Innisfail, which is one of the nicest golf courses in Alberta. And now I don't get to play in that because we're going to play Edmonton that day, which is great. I love football too, but I was slightly disappointed because I was looking forward to that thing. Now, on the flip side, July 22nd, I can now play in a golf tournament, which was supposed to be the Fort Mac day. So it's kind of like it's all over the place. I think the league did a good job. Where I don't think the league did a very good job was like announcing this. I don't even think like the league has announced this anywhere. This podcast will be the first time that this information is even getting out there. And just to be very clear, this podcast currently right now has no affiliation with the league whatsoever. We're our own private passion project that we're doing. I happen to know a lot of people on the board, and people give me information. That's where I get it from. I'm not a part of the board. Omari's not a part of the board. We would love for the league to come on and work with us and be officially a part of the league, but as of right now, we are currently not. But yeah, that's the situation.
The one thing I'm going to take away from this new schedule here where I get a bye is I'm about to watch all the film on everybody else and then go as prepared as we can, which, you know, for our situation at Wolfpack, like we got a young team, young guys, new to the league. And, you know, I'm not going to knock anything or the momentum we're building at Wolfpack, but you want to talk about a first game against the Cold Lake. That's friendly. We got a lot of new players, and I'm definitely excited to see them go and ball out. But it's going to be a tough game going against Cold Lake. And I typically, you always think of like that preseason game where you want to knock the rust off. It's going to be one of those things where I'm looking forward to, I guess, for us at Wolfpack to see how we, you know, compete in this game and go through the adversity and challenge ourselves. And I mean, the nice thing too is we're gonna have actually a preparation when we can film, and I'm looking forward to that. But it's just, you know, yes, it sucks not playing June 3rd, but I just look at the positive where, hey, I'm gonna get a week where we're gonna get film, more preparation, going with our as confident as we can, and do what we got to do.
Well, the week one bye works out well like that too. I hate week one byes. I've actually never had one with the Bucks, but I would hate it if we were to have one, because obviously you want to get going. But the benefit is you're the team that gets to have film on everybody before anybody else does, right? So, and they don't have film on you. So you kind of go into that week one with a slight advantage. Edmonton is in your same boat. The way they did the schedule, they got two teams on a bye the first week. So Edmonton also has a bye that first week, and then we play them the second week. So we're going to have a little bit of a slight disadvantage going into week 2 because Edmonton will have some film on us and we won't have film on them. So, but yeah, I think it's a really tough situation that Fort Mac kind of put the league into. And now the league, I think, handled it, I think, as well as they could have, honestly. If they're going to choose the 6-game schedule, and they did it in a quick way. Again, we would love to help the league get the information out, because I know a lot of people don't even know this information yet, but hopefully that can happen sooner than later. Speaking of quickly, I did want to mention, we've done all the team previews except for Grand Prairie, which Grand Prairie will be up next. Our next episode will be the Grand Prairie season preview. I'm looking forward to that. The Elite did decline to come on the podcast for their own reasons. And I do quickly want to just mention or talk about that a little bit. So I think the podcast, we've mentioned this many times, we're really trying to build the league. And I think that it's a little bit pretentious of Edmonton to refuse to come onto the podcast, to talk about their team, to talk about the season. They don't even have to give specifics, but I think that we need teams in the league that want to grow and build the league as a whole, and not just be selfish towards your own team's needs. And I am calling them out a little bit here, because I think that everyone else has agreed to do the podcast. It's been a good thing for the league to have the podcast, and to outright refuse something that benefits the league because of your own selfish reasons, I think is a little bit, I'm trying to think of the right word, but I think it's a little bit selfish. I think it's a little bit entitled. I think it's a little bit, you think you're better than the league. And the reality is for Edmonton, and look, there's a lot of people on that team that I really like and I have relationships with. But overall, as whoever the board is and the decision makers, I think it's pretty weak. You've done nothing in this league, Edmonton. You've won a total of 0 championships. You are perennial failures in Edmonton across the board for years, in a city that has 1 million people. You can't recruit yeah, to save your life in a city that has 1 million people, and you're out here thinking that you're better than the league and can't come and help a podcast. So I'm just, if you're not going to come on and talk about your team, then I'm going to come on and talk about your team and tell you what I think about it. And look, people, I don't even know if they're listening to this podcast. I'm sure to get back to the people in charge, and they're going to be all mad. Oh, Teej is calling us out on the podcast. Well, I've given Edmonton multiple chances to come on here. They refused to do it. And this is an uncensored podcast, and we're going to start getting a little more spicy as we move forward into the league. And I'm going to speak my truth. And my truth is that I think it's weak to refuse to do something that helps the league, that people enjoy. I think it's entitled. I think it's pretentious. And I don't think you deserve it. I don't think Edmonton has done anything in this league to deserve to think that they're better than the league. They got their asses whooped by Cold Lake last year. They got beat again by Airdrie. They've done nothing. They lost a championship game in 2021 to my team in the Bucks. And so I'm not sure where they get off kind of having that attitude or thinking that way. But again, if you're listening, anyone from Edmonton, you're more than welcome to come on this podcast and discuss those things and be a part of the league, which you are a part of. This is a league, not just one team. So slap it up on your bulletin board if you want. Come out and headhunt me if you want. I know that's how some of the attitude of some of those guys on the team certainly will be. And I don't even care. Like, the Bucks are young. You can come and beat us by 50. But at the end of the day, you've won nothing. You're perennial losers in Edmonton. And I'm actually just kind of annoyed at this point that you are doing some of the things you're doing, which I'm not even going to get into on this podcast right now, out of respect to a previous guest on this podcast who is in a little bit of trouble for coming onto the podcast. But I'm not too impressed with that. And I think that somebody needs to realize from that group that it's time to realize you're not all that you think you are until you actually prove something. So you don't have to have any thoughts on that, Omari, but I just wanted to touch on that quickly.
No, that's completely fair to you, and it's nice to be able to have those thoughts. And anytime I think of just an opportunity to put out your news, your voice, your perspective, and it comes from you, the source. Especially in today's day and age where it's so easy to mix up what you hear, it's so nice to be hey, this is from our organization, all that. I don't know. I see it as a positive, and it's a quick no-brainer to me. But again, it's however, Edmonton Elite, whoever wants to run the organization, cool. I just, I always personally, I thank a lot to the AFL to where it allows me to keep playing football, and I hope those guys would feel that way. And I hope there's no teams that feel we're better than the league. Because if I'm just I don't want to tie it to Edmonton here, but just think of say a team was to think they're better than the league kicks them out, who they're going to play themselves in the scrimmage. They can't go join U Sport, can't go join junior. Yes, we are our own entity in the sense of where it's Alberta, Ontario, and we can grow. And I love to see this grow to a point where we get other provinces on board, and they look at Alberta and as a model here, where they say, wow, look what they've done. They got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 teams all helping each other grow. We go helping men keep playing football. And look at it, wow, Saskatoon, you should hop on board. I know he has a strong culture there, but I don't know, it's one of those things that they can do what they want. It's up to you. They have their own opinion, but good opportunity to show your message, and what you do is, I don't know, it's it's hard for me to pass up on. So it is what it is. I don't want to stir any blood there, but it's just one of those things that come really easy to me.
Yeah,
but
I don't even think that it's I'm not trying to stir up any bad. Like I said, I'm not trying to stir up any bad blood. I have a lot of friends on that team. My boy Zach Brooks is down there, and I've played with Nick Dacus for a long time, and I don't know who's making all these decisions. And I just think that I'm with you on that. You can't. You're in a city of 1 million people. You struggle with recruiting as it is. Why not come on a podcast and sell your team? Why not come on a podcast and sell the league, right? And you nailed it there, Omari. You are nothing without the AFL. And I don't know. And again, what are we? We're a podcast that we started, whatever. No one owes us anything. But, when all the other teams are saying yes and are willing to do it and people are enjoying listening, I just, and they're upset if I even try to contact someone from the elite to come on, and even if they're not speaking on the elite, it just seems a little bit childish to me, and whatever, that's what you want to do. You better go and win a championship this year and prove that you are better than the league. I don't think that's going to happen. I do know, breaking news, through my inside sources, that Mitchell Phillips will be the quarterback of the Edmonton Elite. Now Edmonton's freaking out right now because they didn't want anyone to know that. But Mitchell Phillips is a ex Fort Mac guy, played corner, excellent corner. And he actually played quarterback for Fort Mac. So he's going to be their guy down there. And he will give them a good, he'll be the best quarterback that they've had. So that will be a help for them. I don't know if it's going to be enough with their defense. They like to play this 3-3 type of defense, quarters coverage, lots of cover 4, taking away the deep ball. I don't know if where their DBs are going to have to step up a little bit in the DB, and they might have a really good team this year. But yeah, I don't want to spend any more time on that. It's just something I've been kind of annoyed with over the last couple of months, trying to talk to them and get them on here. But it is their choice, and I actually don't respect it because I think that there are certain things that you should feel like you are good for yourself and good for the league when you're a part of something, but it is what it is. And I wanted to give them a little bit bulletin board material, and then they can just all focus on me and how they're going to come out and get me and blah, blah, blah. And maybe that'll take them away from actually trying to win the game. Okay.
The next thing, I guess is the next thing that's also going to help serve the league. And you also mentioned this too, just with like how Colic's recruiting, and like we got a lot of talent coming in from other places, and with that talent coming in, of course, that brings eyes. And right now, our league is in a situation where our live streaming isn't the strongest, I would say, or like it's very up and down to where to whoever's got the best internet connection or biggest Facebook platform, they go Facebook Live, and so. The latest thing I guess I've taken on is I've been able to, I've seen this AFL YouTube channel. And for those who are saying like, oh, why would you need a YouTube channel? Like, the league needs a platform to where all teams can come together on one platform and showcase the game, showcase highlights, showcase the league. Like, when you think of CFL, like you type in CFL into YouTube, you see all the games, the highlights, this, that. You type in NFL. Yes, those organizations have resources and everything, cool. But even with our league and organization as leagues and teams, we can even do that by ourselves with having each team just contribute towards that main channel and doing it in a way to where it just promotes the league. And I've gone ahead and like implemented it. I know I find that message boards chat that you run, Teej, I find there's always a lot of good ideas, but very little people want to implement. So I flipped the script to where like, hey, I'm just going to go and implement this first, then tell everyone about it. And so, I want to appreciate everyone's support to where, from where I first mentioned the chat to where it is now, we're sitting at 58 subscribers with 34 videos up. I've been able to help pull all different resources of like teams' Instagrams, old vintage stuff, and all that on there. And like we're sitting at 4,500 views.
Oh wow, what's it called again?
Just
Alberta Football League YouTube.
Alberta Football League. You just literally go to YouTube and just search out Alberta Football League.
I didn't even subscribe. I'm gonna subscribe to it right now. Oh, I'm on my wife's account. My wife just subscribed.
This is not.
Cool.
This is not cool because I want to get your perspective here, and like as well as what my vision was for this now is typically when we look at live streaming, it's a very janky platform to like go. Like you gotta go for a paid service, which costs a lot, which our league is trying to cut back on costs, or every team's trying to cut back on costs as our society, or Facebook Lives, and it's very hard to share that link. But I've noticed it with Football Alberta, and like you can actually go watch what they're doing because they have a game live streaming. Like I'm pretty sure earlier today, but they YouTube live stream all their youth games, and it allows coaches, players, families all stream in, and they're doing it. Of course, now Football Alberta has more resources to have like someone man it, but with YouTube Live, you can make it so easy to where now that we've hit that 50 subscribers, we can now stream off our mobile phone. A team can, you go.
So how does it work? Like would all teams just be able to go right onto it and stream their games, even if there were games happening at the same time?
Yes. And And that's a great question. So one thing that since you just subscribed, I guess all your wife just subscribed from her account. If you go to the live section, you should see the top banner. And like for those who are listening here, like when you go to subscribe, you see it live. You can
Okay.
see it's been scheduled. So
Yeah, got to get rid of that Fort Mac.
yeah, I have to go back in and rename it now. But it's been scheduled. So what that means now is the home team or the team with the best equipment or the person there, like I think to make it easy, the home team, but they can get a login and like not even get a login, but all I gotta do is assign them a role to be part of the league, and then they can go in and start the stream, have someone at the top of the bleachers, and follow the game with the quality that YouTube
Now,
brings.
how does it? Do you know? Because I'm not okay. So like, I'm not super like advanced with technology. It took me quite a while to figure out even how to like put this podcast together. But if like, how do you need a special equipment to do that, or like is it straight, or is it like filming from your phone and it goes up there?
Yeah,
Is that
that's
basically it?
lightning on my end, but
Oh wow, yeah, that's
yeah.
crazy.
But you know that's a great question. So you can do it multiple ways. So the easiest way, mobile phone. So someone can easily get the iPhone 11, 12, whatever, Samsung. They can log in, stream right off their phone. That's the simplest and easiest way. It'll be just pure camera feed, which that just solves a lot of that solves the big issue there. Now, once teams or maybe this catches on and people get more resources, you can actually set it up like a broadcast where you have a banner, you have commentators, and it goes right to YouTube. Now, I understand that could be quite a lot to just do for the year one and maybe phase one of this, but to make it super easy, all you need is your phone. And for when a channel starts up, YouTube does have these rules to where you need to be able to have 50 subscribers, show a history, da-da-da-da-da. I've taken care of all that. We've now hit 50. I want to appreciate everyone who subscribed to be the first 50. Like we got to that point. So it makes it super easy to where I'll make an example here. Like I know I actually spoke with Chad Weeb. Hey, shout out to Chad from from Grand Prairie. He called, wanted to get an idea about it and just understand how it works to where let's say like you're gonna be up in Grand Prairie. How it can go is to where you get your streaming device, let's say his phone. He can then go in on the social media login, or like now that Peace River has like the role as editor, they can go in, start the stream when the game starts, and then it will just show on the YouTube channel. And you can have multiple streams going at once. So game at all three games are at 2, 1 at 2, 12, 4, whatever. But it makes it so easy. And I think just to really answer this right now, I need to actually probably test this, which I'm going to do a test stream to hopefully allow everyone to see it and alleviate those pondering questions. Because I'm sure there's people who are like, oh, this sounds exciting, but does it work? And I feel quite confident with it because I can literally live stream right now off my phone, but I want to show it to where it can be done on a stadium, Wi-Fi, all that. But
so I think, yeah, because Wi-Fi probably would be important for data and stuff. But I think basically all you need to basically start it up would be each team. Each team, we want to get each team involved in this. Again, this YouTube project is just something Omari started. We're talking about it on the podcast. This is not associated with the Alberta Football League. This is another kind of passion project where Omari and I are trying really hard to push the league forward. Even without, the actual league's help. So we are doing this stuff all kind of on our own. I just want to make that very clear. And so basically, if we could get the teams involved, they would just need someone who could go stand up in the booth and film the game with their phone. And of course, teams still need a person to actually have a camera and film it for our own league, our huddle, because the YouTube wouldn't be good enough for that, obviously. So you would need two people. You'd need a film person that films the game for huddle, and you need a person that is willing to stream the game live, and then you can do it, right? And then of course, like you said, you can advance that. You could get probably better equipment, even announcers, and I'm sure there are people out there who would be willing to announce games. I know for sure I can think of three guys that I know that would do it for Red Deer, absolutely. So teams, if you're on the boards of teams, you need to contact Omari, and we need to get this going. I think as a league, this would be amazing.
So huge
to put those games out there for people. I mean, that is number one as far as exposure is having video and showing it, and then people share it, people tune in, whether it's for a quarter or a half or an entire game. Families, again, Cold Lake's bringing in guys from all over the place. Their families can watch it live. Like, that is only beneficial for the league. So I think all teams should automatically be on in this. It should be a no-brainer in my mind, and I think it has potential to really elevate our league
massively. And to tie into this, like I've thought of this for a while, just so people aren't thinking like, oh, I just thought it was like, no, like when that list came out to where teams, what's it called, that like global ranking, to where it was like NFL, CFL, XFL, like all that, and we ranked number 8. I studied number 7, 8, just below us. Like, what did they do? They literally have a YouTube channel where all the teams, again, just post the games, stream the games to it, which, that alone drove a lot of that drives a lot to where you can have scouts, this, that, like all watching. I'm like, that's such an easy thing to do, which have someone in stands and do it. And so,
well, and how many times, Omari, have we had, and I think it's almost every guest that has come on and said, I didn't even know the AFL existed. Someone told me, hey, you should come play in this league. And they're like, what league? And they're like, this league is awesome now once they play in it. So what better way to get out there? Look, I give credit to the league where it's due. They did a good job with the schedule. They do a terrible job with advertising for themselves. Where is our league website? I think there's one available, but it's not updated and it sucks. Where is our social media presence? Like, why is it 2 guys that are taking on their own stuff trying to promote the league? Like, I'm happy to do it. I'm glad to do it. I want to be a part of this. But like, we need as a collective more people doing this stuff. Like, it's 2023 and we're just right now having our first conversation about putting our games on YouTube and live streaming them. And it's from 2 guys that aren't even a part of the league. So this is just like common sense stuff. And when you look at any league, like if you look at the league that Rayshawn Provo's in right now, the ELF league, they have a great website. They have great social media. I follow the Zurich Renegades. They are posting all the time. They post stuff that they do with their youth camps. They post stuff with all the teams that are in their organization. They have photos of every single, like, it's really well done. And we just aren't, the Alberta Football League is sustaining itself by doing the bare minimum. Like, think about this. The Alberta Football League has been around for a very long time. Somehow it has survived. It clearly is a place that is successful, but it is doing the absolute minimum to be successful. It's relying on people wanting to play football. But how do we get bigger? How do we get more reach? How do we get more respect? Because this league is very good. There are very good and talented players. There are very good and talented people that are in charge of the organizations. But we're not doing enough as a league to showcase ourselves. Like, that's what this is all about. If you like, look, I have a business. I run sports camps here in Sylvan Lake, and it's a very successful business. And I made it successful because I talk about it and I advertise it and I show videos of the camps that I run. And I put my information out there. Well, we don't see, like, Kurt Howland runs the Alberta Football League News Facebook page. He's not a part of the league. He just does that on his own time. David Dominic, who we're going to have on here hopefully very soon, actually, we've got to be in touch with David, is doing a ton of stuff for the league, a ton of stuff. This guy lives and breathes AFL football, is out here on his own dime, making all these amazing, incredible videos. Shout out to Double D, David Dominic, former player, amazing dude, amazing person, and a great media guy. But the league isn't doing anything, and the league needs to step up and start doing something. And look, there are good people in the league. I'm not, this isn't to shit. I'm just calling it like it is. And Omari is going to continue to want to do this. I'm going to continue to want to do this, but let's all come together. Like, invite us in, and let's have a group. Like, Omari, I was talking to you the other day. I guarantee you, yourself, me, Kurt Howland, and David Dominic would love to make up an official media, social media, whatever you want to call it, part of the league. You know what I mean? But we need to be approached. We have to be talked to about this. We have to come together with the league. Should be seeing the stuff that we're doing and seeing that it's successful and popular. And this is how we want to advance the league. So we're out here. We want this. We want to be a part of it. And I hopefully we can be soon.
And to add to that too, like, Teague Sherman, he has reached out and he has asked about it, and like, oh, like, was it doing? Because I think he's mentioned that Cold Lake has tried some things and tried YouTube and has some limitations, but I do feel once the testing of this has shown the results, I hope that would be like the big jump start. Like, okay, wow, this works. It's a clean platform, easy to share, good to go. And to add as well to what you've mentioned, like, Double D does some great stuff, and I've reached out to him because I want him to be a part of the YouTube channel and to help put his stuff there and have it be a platform. But everyone likes to think of a YouTube channel as like, oh, it's just a lot of work and you got to put videos. And I'm like, here's how I think. Like, if we have was 7, now 6 teams, contribute whatever they put to social media, their Instagram reels, the videos to the AFL channel. Double D, myself, Kurt, anyone else who's very media inclined and for the league, and it promotes the league, like that's close to 9, 10, 11 outlets of people contributing to this one platform to help it grow. And with that, the sky's limited with that. So I do see great potential with this, just distribution wise, and a way to bring the league together.
Yes, and that's exactly it. The league needs to come together. We need to get our shit in a row and figure this out, because we have a product that is very fun to watch, has been incredibly successful, has self-sustained. Like, it has literally sustained itself for 30 years, and it's now time to take it to the next level. And I don't plan on playing. As of right now, this is going to be my last year playing. Just because it's a lot on my body over 25 years of playing football. But who knows, that could be different. But I still, regardless if I'm playing or not, I still want to do this podcast. I still want to be a part of the league. Just like Sinjin isn't playing, but he's still very versed in the league, and just like Kurt isn't playing, but is still running. Like, people who play in this league care about it, and I'm sure you're the same way. So we need to do whatever we can, because this league needs to reach its full potential, and we have to figure out a way to get it there. And I think this YouTube channel is going to be the first step. So teams, or players on teams, mention this to your board, have them reach out to Omari. We'll set this up. We can make this an official thing where teams are, I don't want to say required, but maybe at some point that is something that the league does, is you are required to, have someone there with a cell phone and have a live stream up on YouTube. Like, that's just, and you can build, like, people start watching, and you can now start running ads at halftime, and it can start generating revenue for the league and for the YouTube channel and all. There's just so much potential across the board, I think, with stuff like this that we're just not doing right now.
And that's huge. And like, I just think of like guys who come international, like I'll share a small beaner. Like, we have a player who's kind of for Wolfpack who's coming from Texas, and he reached out and said, hey, like, I got family wants to watch me play. And I'm like, yeah, there's right. And funny enough, I was like, yeah, well, we're actually working on, it's the solution with YouTube to actually have it be live streamed. And he's like, wow, that's sick. And like, with YouTube, it's so stable because he's seen other teams in the States do it through YouTube. So I feel like if others are doing it, we can do it. It's something too where I hope everyone sees it as a platform where we all come together as our public face. Because I think as behind the scenes in our Facebook chats, we will shit talk. I'm sure we'll all shit talk for the rest of our day. But I think when everyone can come to an agreement where it's like, hey, if we're going to represent the AFL and put that product in place and have a corporation, a business, someone like type in AFL on YouTube, and they go, wow, they got, now 6 teams all making highlights of other players. Oh, they got full length games. Wow, hey, they have ads now and a broadcast. Maybe this AirG Irish team, they actually have a proper broadcast system. So like, hey, let's go approach them and put some ads on, like for ads. Like, I don't know, it's again huge potential, but we'll I digress, and it will take it week by week, and I think the test stream will be a good place to start from there.
Yeah. Okay, that's awesome, and so we're gonna be hopefully updating on that, and hopefully we'll have some games. I know the Irish have some sort of scrimmage. Maybe I'll head down there and live stream that.
Yeah.
This weekend they play, I think, 27th or something like that. They have like a little green and white game. Okay. So that's our YouTube channel. So check that out. You can just look up Alberta Football League on YouTube, and there's some cool videos on there. I was just looking at it. Actually, you've got a couple national championship games out there. You got some highlights and stuff like that. And you got Vince Roth doing an interview on Z99. You got funny meme with Adam Kuntz. So there's some good stuff.
And
July, there's a game from 2007. Like, that's pretty cool.
and just now
Wolfpack
while you're
Gators.
looking at it, what are your first impressions? Because I just had to pull everything that was up from all the teams and everything, and some retro stuff. But like, what are your first impressions?
No, it's nice. I like it a lot, right? Like, especially these, like, I am going to go and take a look at this 2007 game between the Pack and the Gators. Like, I love that kind of stuff. I love looking at old film of the AFL, what it used to be, and the players that, because, these are players that every single one of these guys was doing the same thing then that we're doing now, sacrificing our summers, spending time away from our families, putting our bodies on the line, all for the sake of the love of football. And like, to look back and see these guys, like, that's pretty cool. I'm looking at these old Calgary Gators jerseys, and that's really neat. Yeah. So I think that has a ton of potential, and something we definitely need to support. Okay. Quickly before we finish, you know what we'll do, actually. I was going to do the first week previews. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do first week previews. Okay. Okay. So first week, we only have 2 games. We have Bucks hosting the Irish and the Cowboys hosting the Jets. So I'll say this. So my picks would be, I'm always going to, just so everyone knows, I will always pick the Bucks to win, because that's just the way that it works. I'm not picking my team to lose. Okay. So I think the Bucks are going to beat the Irish. I'm going to say 28-17, Bucks over Irish, 28-17. And I'm going to pick the Jets to beat the Cowboys. But this one is really interesting, and I'm going to start here, and Omari, you can follow. But I'm really interested in this Jets-Cowboys game for a couple of reasons. One, I think the Cowboys are going to be much better this year. And that Cowboys team last year they weren't super talented, but they were physical, and their defense played really hard. I think the Jets are going to win, and probably by multiple scores. I'm going to say 28-14 for the Jets. But if the Jets are starting this high school quarterback, so the only quarterback we've seen announced from the Jets right now is this high school kid who played for the Cold Lake Royals, and he might be fine. But it's hard to come into this league after only playing high school and playing with grown men, a lot of whom have played, high level football in their lives. It's a different animal. And I think if that's the case, and that Jets QB is their starter, this high school kid, I think he's going to struggle. I think their offense will struggle. I think their running game will be good enough to score points and possess the ball. I don't think they're going to score a lot of points, especially at the beginning of the season. I think they'll get better as the year goes on. This game is also in Grand Prairie. So we're going to have a fully loaded Grand Prairie team, and probably not a fully loaded Jets team. Of course, first game of the year, everyone's extra excited for that. I can see maybe some of these recruits not being here on time for that first week for the Jets. I can see them traveling a little light. I think that game's going to be fairly close. I'm still going to take Jets by 2 scores, 28-14, but I'm really interested. I hope they live stream that game, because I'll be watching. I don't know what time they kick off at, but I think it's after the Bucks Irish game. So I'll try to watch the tail end of that. But I'm really interested in that Cowboys Jets game. What are you thinking about that one?
The Cowboy Jets, yeah, it's gonna go Jets defending champions. They got their veterans returning, adding new pieces. They're reloaded, ready to go. But as well with Peace Country, like they've reloaded as well, but built on top of the foundation and building, and that's what you want to see. And I feel like it's one of those things. We know the talent of Cold Lake. We don't exactly know the talent of the Cowboys, but I think as a building team, and this is what you want to see. You want to see the resiliency, the battle, and like you want to see what kind of guys you have. Because as we go through adversity, through games and through practice and everything, like practice. Like, yeah, we can run with the rest, but like, how do you deal with adversity when there's another man either punishing you, you're beating him, they're working different schematics and all that? Like, you want to see those aspects of the game, and that's something too now where I know us for Wolfpack, I'm definitely excited to see that for the guys that we got and we're bringing in. And I'm sure Peace River knows that. I believe we all know what Cold Lake brings, and I'm not here to diss anybody on that. Just when I look at the overall, theme of football and everything, it's going to be a good game there. And I'm looking forward to seeing the growth. That's probably the biggest thing, seeing the growth. But yeah, it'll be
from week 1 to the end
week 1 to the end, and if it's going to be huge there. But yeah, Jess will take that, and then we got Airdrie and Airdrie and Bucks. This one I feel like is always tight. It was a tough one because anytime I bring up Airdrie, because it's always the handful of guys that transferred from the free agency. It went over to Irish from Pack, but end of the day, it's something to where let's see. I know Airdrie has bodies because all I've been hearing from them is, oh, we're not gonna have enough jerseys. If you see, I'm interested to see how they handle their jersey situation. They might have ordered new jerseys. They might.
I should just burn them all.
I know you have your thoughts on that. I know they have bodies, and that's gonna be the one thing too where I believe you guys are gonna match up really well with them, and then I don't know your body situation in the sense of like how many players you're gonna have, but I know Airdrie's gonna have at least 50 plus coming out, and that's something too where now just through attrition, hopefully you guys are well conditioned or have like numbers to match that and go through. But I'm gonna give it to Airdrie there for that.
Yeah, and I think most people would pick Airdrie. Like I said, I'm never going to pick against my own team. But one, I don't think we're ever going to lose because I believe that any team that I'm on is going to win. That's just my mentality throughout my entire life. I work really hard to have that mentality, and that's just what I believe. But I think Airdrie, they are going to have probably more players than us, but at the end of the day, it's still 12v12 on the field. Mm-hmm. I think that if you were ranking teams based on depth, they probably have a little more depth than we do. But I'll tell you something. I have been in the I guess 3 weeks now that we've been practicing with the Bucks, and I've been on. This is my 12th season on the Bucks. This team right now is the most fun that I've ever had playing for the Bucks. Now, some of that has to do with the fact that I'm playing with like literally 8 kids who I've coached since they were 13 years old, and now they're 19, 20, and I coached them throughout Bantam and throughout high school, and now we're playing together, and so that automatically makes it really fun for me. But the energy around the group has been extremely positive. We are getting 30 plus at practice every day, which is a lot in our league to get 30 plus. And sometimes we're at 40. I hope any Bucks listening keep coming to practice. We've had a couple guys like Ty Page is an excellent player and he hasn't been out yet, but he's supposed to be out. Ben Nadiuk is a little bit on the fence right now, but it's hopefully going to come out a little bit when he can. He's busy. He just got married and is going on a honeymoon and stuff, but he's still planning. Xavier Lawrence is going to be there. Myself is going to be there. We got Ruben Brayton back. We got Brett Bilsma, who's going to be, I think, going to be the best quarterback in the league when all things are said and done this year. And we've got a good running game. We got this ex-rugby player named Tony who just can't wait to hurt people and hit people, and he runs hard, runs fast. We got a big, powerful O-line led by TJ Sloboda, ex-Edmonton Husky. We got good coaching led by Jeff Rambo and Dan Johnson, and Ryan Miller on the defense. We've got a ferocious defense. Our linebacking core. We just picked up this guy. He's actually an ex-Irish player. His name is BK. I don't know if you know him. But this big linebacker who's just a beast. We picked him up because he's living in Ponoka now. We've got David Simons, who was new to football last year, but is an absolute tank and a workhorse and is going to be someone to watch out for at the linebacker position. We've got this kid named Henry, who's a great little Sam linebacker. And Todd Lewis is coming back, another great Sam linebacker. We've got Dario, who's playing, who's actually on the YouTube channel that we talked about. Dario is going to be the best safety in the league this year. We've got Caleb, who played with both of us on the Wolfpack last year, speedy little safety. Mm-hmm. Of course, we've got myself playing the corner position. We've got Ty Page at halfback. We got Connor Langford and Riley playing the other side. This team is going to surprise a lot of people, and I have a lot of faith and a lot of optimism, and I've just had a ton of fun, and the feeling around this team has been nothing but extremely positive. And trust me, I've played in some years with the Bucks where it's not been like that. And not saying this is the most talented group we've ever had. Obviously, any team with Brandon Lay would be categorized as maybe more talented, but I really like the cut of this team. So I'm excited to get going against Airdrie. And that game's going to be huge because, that game, that's going to decide. It could decide a home field or a bye in the first round of the playoffs. So top two teams get byes, and you're not, Airdrie or Red or the Bucks, like whoever loses that game is not coming top two. So if you lose that game, you're playing in the quarterfinals. You're not getting a bye. Like, it just isn't going to happen. Just the way that it works. So that first game of the year has huge implications for both teams.
Absolutely. I was thinking to myself, like, oh man, like week one bye and everything. And I'm like, hey, you know what? I could probably make a trip to Red Deer, see Airdrie. You guys play. I think Grand Prairie's a little far the way, but it'd be, I don't know, it's always exciting to see the product on the field. And I think just what you listed off there, like, yeah, you guys are loaded. Like, it's so heavily matched up, and man, you
could be our YouTube live streamer, man. You come down to the game and we'll get you up in the booth.
Yeah,
and we'll live stream it. I could set that up. And we're actually in Lacombe that day. It sucks because I'd much rather play in Red Deer at Great Chief, but Great Chief is booked. So we're that first game against Airdrie is in Lacombe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but yeah, man, if you're coming down, let me know, because I'll set you up.
Yeah, you want to hear a funny story? Anytime I hear of Ben, I hope Ben Nadig's coming out, because I remember my first year at Colts. It was his senior year, and I remember
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. It worked out where I was coming in and like he was on his last year going out. But you want to hear a funny story with Ben?
Yeah,
and it was a great story. So Ben, like, he's like, big receiver as he is, like stud players. He was number one receiver in 2013 with the Colts, and they grow strong senior year, and like the team went up to go play Regina, and I was a scout team, first year player coming in. I was doing my time, and then I remember the team played, and we came back. We unfortunately lost, but then we're watching the film, and there's a toss play that Ben is wide out on, and I remember this because like in the meeting, like it was a big play. He ended up running down the line on a crack, just where he snapped the ball, comes down the line, takes out the first guy, ends up breaking his collarbone, right? The defense player's collarbone, and then makes a great block. We get a couple yards, but then the meeting, I think they were talking about like, oh, Ben, like, great how you blocked it up, and what'd you work your technique? And I think Ben was just like, oh, because I'm bigger and blacker. The entire room just killed themselves laughing.
That's okay.
And it's classic Ben style, he had his hat on and everything, and like me being a rookie, I was like, fuck, that was like hilarious, and like just absorbing everything, but it was definitely
that sounds exactly like Ben. That does not surprise me at all. I've played against him. He used to play for the Gators, and I've been lucky enough to be his teammate for a number of years now. And he was actually the one who, when we played Omari in 2019 in the finals, he was the one that came in, and it was 3rd and 10. We were down 4, and he threw a touchdown pass to me to what I thought was win the game. But of course, with 1 minute left in the game, Darryl came down and ended up game-winning drive. But he went in at quarterback and made that throw to me. So he can do a lot of things. But he is a mean man. He's a beast of a player. He's a good dude, and I was actually just talking to him today and trying to see what his kind of plans are. So I hope he does come out. That's a great story. I'll make sure that he listens to the podcast so he can rehear that, because I'm sure he'll like that. Okay. I think I was going to talk about something else, but I'm actually going to leave that for another episode. We'll actually bring him on, but yeah. Anything else, Omari?
No, I believe that wraps up, because I think I know with all the recent news and updates, we wanted to get that out just with this episode, and it's a couple days away, and I mean, I know that there's some noise happening in the message board with about 13 days left. I think that's 2 days ago, but anyways, I think we'll leave off from here. But I hope everyone's getting ready and doing what they got to do to take care of things and go from there. But I think other than that, we're all good to wrap up here.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for listening. Thank you again to Danny and Travis for helping keeping this podcast going, specifically to Danny, who has graciously offered to be our first full-time sponsor. So that's really awesome. I love to hear that people are enjoying the podcast. Again, Omari and I are open to any and all ideas. So never be afraid to reach out to us with ideas or potential things we can do. We really want to go far with this podcast. We're gonna finish off with the Cowboy season preview. Then we're gonna get into weekly game of the weeks. We're gonna hopefully get into some NFC stuff. I've got Jordan Heather that is going to come on the podcast soon. He's expressed interest in that. Jordan Heather used to be a quarterback in the AFL. Now he's playing for the North Bay Bulldogs in the NFC. So we got a lot of exciting stuff. So message us, give us your ideas, give us your thoughts. We appreciate that. We can't do this podcast if people don't care about it, and it's nice to know that people do. So thank you for everyone that's listening. Thank you for the people that have stepped up to help us financially to sponsor this podcast. Omari, send us out.
Yeah. Well, hey, I appreciate everyone tuning in. Hey, we're days away from week one, and been slight changes here and there, but we're on track for 2023 season. You can check us out here on Spotify, Apple Music, on YouTube as well. We also want to give a big shout out to our first official sponsor, Warwick Grain Carrier. It's I know Danny quite well, and it's been awesome to have him be part of the podcast here, and appreciate him to be part and have this be a long-standing relationship where this is both beneficial to both of our parties, and go from there. And it's something that we want to have it grow. Hope everyone's doing well. Take care of yourself. Rest your bodies, ice your bodies, get your vitamin D in, and look forward to the next episode.
Awesome. Thanks, Omari, and thanks, everyone. We will see you soon.